All right, it's October the 15th in Ag Mechanics. So those of you who are not with us today or are confused about what we talked about today, the first thing that we did is we went over this leveling rod. The way that the whole leveling rod works is that it is in an engineering scale. So that's on a measurement from 0 to 10. And the reason why we use an engineering scale is because you don't have to convert fractions into decimals. So it makes your math a whole lot easier. So I showed you this leveling rod the other day. We went over the red numbers are the feet and these black number are the inches. But what we didn't talk about was what each one of these black little squares or rectangles are on this particular leveling rod. So the way you read this is the bottom of each number or each black box is a 1 and the top of it is a 2. So when you're reading your line on here, you would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you would just work yourself up, okay? So when you're looking through this scope, when you look through your eyepiece there on your transit, it looks like a scope. So you're going to have a straight line that comes out across like this. You're going to have a straight line that comes down like this. So it's going to look just like a scope. So if that line is on the top, then it would be an even number. And if your line was on the bottom, it would be an odd number. So on this particular one where our line is, it would be 7.3. So that's 7 feet, 3 inches, 7.3. And then you just count 1, 2. So that would be 7.32. Pretty easy, okay? So that is how we actually do, right, our actual measurements on here. So we went over that in class. And so just to clarify one more time, okay, if our line was, say, right through, let's see if I can draw this correctly, right through here, okay, and then we have our center portion coming down. So looking through there, and that's what it looks like inside of our eyepiece. Do your feet, which would be 7. Your inches, we're in between 1 and 2, so that would be 1. And then you just count your marks. 1, 2, 3. So it'd be 7 feet, 3 inches. So 7.13 feet would be our reading. Okay. So the next thing you do when we talked about the distance between 2 points to find our elevation, because that's what we referred to yesterday in class. So when you set this transit up, the first thing you have to do is find your elevation. Okay. So if you read at point 1 and our elevation was 1.38, okay, if it was 1.38, so we have 1.38 here, and then we have 138 on the left, and then our height, we turn it 180 degrees, is 57 on the right. So our elevation difference, you subtract reading number 1 from reading number 2. So 138 minus 57 would give us an elevation difference of 81. Okay, and then you use that to calculate your percent slope. Now, this is a really easy way that you do this, and your directions for today's assignments are up at the top. You subtract your 2 elevations, and then you take that number and divide by the distance between 2 points. And since it's a percent, you then have to multiply by 100. Okay, so all of your questions look very similar. So point 1, our elevation is 4.5. And point 2, our elevation is 9.7. So the first thing you have to do is find your difference between your elevation. So 9.7 minus 4.5 equals 5.2. Okay, so our difference is 5.2. Okay, now step 2 tells you that you have to divide that number we just found, which is the 5.2, by the distance. So our distance between the 2 points is 150 feet. Now, if you don't have a calculator, it's okay because there's a calculator built into your computer. So you would simply open up that calculator and go 5.2 divided by 150. And then that's going to give us 0.04. And you're going to get 666666666, excuse me, 0.34. And you just round that next number up. So 0.0347. But since we're asking about percent slope, the last step, just like in your directions, you take that number, 0.0347, you multiply it by 100, you get 3.47%. The key here is to make sure you put a percent after every one of your answers because you're looking for percent slope. So 3.47%. When you go to your assignment today, you're going to have two things. You're going to have a test code up here. You have a 7-question quiz in SchoolNet, and then you have a worksheet that we need to complete as well. So you have 5 questions on here, right? And it tells you exactly how to do it up at the top. The difference in elevation divided by the distance between points multiplied by 100. So in this first problem, 5.6 and 8.3. So you subtract those two numbers, right? 8.3 minus 5.6 is going to give you 2.7. So the points are 376 feet apart. So the 2.7, right, divided by 376. And then you just take that decimal, multiply by 100, and that is your percent slope, okay? And you're going to do that for all 5 of these. And then go ahead and turn that in. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope this helped, and we'll see you all in class tomorrow.